Over the weekend, Missouri's Congresswoman Cori Bush spearheaded a 5-day sit-in, sleeping on the steps of the House to push the White House and Congress to do something, anything, to put a stop to the looming eviction crisis. A national moratorium on evictions expired last week after the Biden administration announced that the Supreme Court had limited their powers to address it. On Tuesday, the Congresswoman's dogged determination pushed the Biden administration to issue a new moratorium, which may not survive given the right-wing majority Supreme Court's stated intention to limit executive powers now that a Democrat is president. Biden alluded to that earlier today.
I can't guarantee you the court won't rule that we don't have that authority, but at least we'll have the ability to, if we have to appeal, to keep this going for a while. At least, I hope longer.
Yesterday, a group of property managers and realtors filed a motion to block the moratorium. Republicans have refused to work with Democrats on the issue. They've called the moratorium government overreach and yet another example of leftist handouts. But for now, as many as 40 million Americans have a roof over their heads thanks to the work of Cori Bush and others. And Congresswoman Cori Bush joins me now. I want to thank you for being here. I was texting about you on my way back from Cabo saying we've got to get her on because what you did was heroic. Talk about the origins of this sleep-in, this sleep-out.
Yeah, I fell back on what I know. I know how to, when I feel powerless or when I feel like something has to happen, like there was this feeling on the inside of me, Joy, when Representatives Ocasio-Cortez and Presley and I were standing outside of the doors of the Capitol building, just wondering, like, what do we do now? Because the House had recessed, and we're talking about upwards of 11 million people that would be forced out of their homes. Like, what do we do? And I just felt like running on the inside of me, like, just go, go, go. And what else do I usually do when I feel like something has to happen and people will be hurting? Because the truth of the matter is that we are in the midst of a global pandemic that is deadly, that has taken out over 600,000 of our people in this country alone. And how dare we push more people out while this Delta variant, is surging. And so I know how to sit. I know how to sit in. I know how to protest. I know how to hold the line. I know how to sleep outside. I've done it for protest, and I had to do it personally.
Yeah, absolutely. You come from that activist background, so you really, as you said, understand that is the way sometimes you have to move things. There's this video of Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, coming up and hugging you and sort of greeting you. In that conversation, that very brief conversation, did he indicate that there's going to be legislative action? Because it looks like these Alabama realtors and property owners are probably going to be successful in that right-wing Supreme Court, meaning that it's only Congress that can make this moratorium more permanent. Did he commit to you that he's going to, and it's going to have to be through reconciliation. We're back to the same place we were with voting rights. Is this going to happen?
Yeah, so we understand that, and that was part of the conversations that we had been having. Let me just say, people have made the criticism that all I did and the other Congress members that were there, and all we did was show up and sleep outside. But that's not true. We were having conversations with the White House, with the Speaker's office, with others in leadership, the CPC, the CBC, and so many other members the entire time. So, but when Chuck Schumer came out, and he was greeting us the way that he was, because we had been in conversation, because he had already come out. We had talked about like what this could look like, and he came. So when he came and hugged us at that time, it was like, hey, you all, you continued this work, and we did it. Like, we're here. We have something for the people.
Yeah. Well, by the way, the people who said that was called a trash take, as LaTosha Brown might say, literally. That was a trash take. So that's why we didn't even discuss it here this evening. Okay, so talk about how the legislation ought to be structured in your view, because, the right is already coming out and calling this everything from socialism to Marxism. We know those are meaningless terms. They just say them. What do you think legislation should look like that would protect Americans in this first world country from becoming homeless during a pandemic? What do you want that legislation to look like?
You know, so we started sending letters to the CDC months ago. Some even as far as January, other progressives were sending letters, and I know probably some moderates maybe, but we started sending letters months ago to the CDC. Our office has been saying, along with Representative Gomez, Representative Presley, have been saying, strengthen a moratorium. Have the moratorium go through the course of the pandemic. That is what we need to see right now. When we think about how this pandemic has hit homes, hit families, we have people who were the one bringing home the majority of the money or all the money into a household, and some of those people are no longer with us because of the COVID-19. We have people who have not only lost jobs, but lost jobs and lost careers and are trying to figure out how, so they may be taking a job that pays considerably less. You know, and when we think about, as someone who has been evicted before, when I think about when you get behind and having someone to help you, but then you have to get back on track, and then you have to be able to keep up on top of all the other bills and other things happening. So for me, it is making sure that we have that moratorium, that we have the where utilities are able to be paid, where small landlords are getting the money, making sure that we get this money out, that $43.5 billion that's still sitting, get that money out to the landlords, get that money out to those who need it most. But then after that, we see what else we need, who still is in need, how else can we help. It's more than just making sure that we have money for renters and making sure that we have the money for the landlords. We have to make sure that that people are able to get better wages in the jobs that they have right now. We have a multitude of issues that are not being addressed, and I do not want to hear when people say, we've already given too many handouts. Call it what you want to, but what people don't like is to see people unhoused in their communities. People don't like
right.
that. So keep people in their homes, help people to have this social safety net right now.
Right.
That's very needed.
And by the way, when people become homeless, they also cannot vote. And it is not handouts. It's called a return on investment, because the people who are serving the food and working retail and doing everything to keep everybody happy and healthy and at home, those are the people who are at risk of being evicted. Cori Bush, I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for doing what you do. Keep it up.